Hi friends, welcome back to Faith and Arrow Homestead. My name is Jaylee and today we are going to talk a little bit about gardening, which is funny because it's snowing outside. But I had my first seed catalog come in the mail and it got me thinking, and there are a few things that I want to share with you. First, however, I have so many new subscribers since the summertime, which is awesome, and I'm so happy that you guys are here. But a lot of you may not really know anything about my garden or have not watched any of the content to know, what it looks like, what my setup is. So I did a couple days ago. I filmed. It was at a random, really nice day. Like today, it's literally snowing. It was 60 degrees the other day, and so I used it as an opportunity to get outside and do a little filming out there. So right now, I'm going to take you on a quick tour of my garden. So I'm out here in upstate New York or western New York, and my backyard, my whole entire property is about 1/4 an acre, and that includes front yard, house, and backyard. So the backyard is even less than that, and this is where I have my garden. So I have this garden area here, and then I have this one over here, and this is where we're going to start. So over here I have 2 beds, and they're separated by a trellis. These beds are 2 foot by, I think, 7 foot, and usually I grow like beans. I grew my garlic and my carrots here last year, but we're going to be doing something different in 2024, and we'll talk about that. But this has 2 cattle panels back to back to make a arched trellis. So this is my main garden. I call it the compound. I don't know like what word would be good for that, but I created it to be a horseshoe shape, and then I filled the middle of it with mulch, and then I've been adding beds to the middle. So I have an herb bed. It starts with 2, I think 4 foot by 5 foot beds, and I have an arched trellis going across to create the entryway, and these that you see here are red roses. I think I just got them from Home Depot, and that's what kind of frames out the entry into the garden. And then once you enter the garden, each of these beds creating the border of the garden are, I think, 4 foot by 8 foot. And I've got 2 on either side and then 2 to create the back. This one we just added this year in 2023. This is an herb box, and I don't remember what the measurements are. Maybe 4 feet by 4 feet, something like that. And then along these 2 beds on this side, I have more cattle panels. And these, for the past 2 years, these 2 beds have been my tomato beds. So I have the cattle panels here, and I use them, and I've got a variety of clips hanging on them, and these are how I trellis my tomatoes. Along the fence here, I have been growing raspberries. I've got red raspberries as well as golden raspberries. Over here we have the garden shed, and we use it for storing things like the grill and whatnot, but for the most part I have a lot of my gardening supplies. And then the chicken coop is over here next to the shed. So this past season, 2023, was a really rough gardening season for me. It was my second year gardening here on this property, my second year homesteading. My first year was really successful, but I think it was beginner's luck. And this last season, I've said it a couple of times, it was difficult. I quit my hospital job. I was working 3 jobs at one point. It was just really crazy, and when my garden needed me the most, I was unavailable. And so things got really out of hand. A lot of things were unsuccessful, went unlabeled. I tried to plant a lot of new weird things, and my thought process was, this will be fun. The people that are watching my content will really like seeing all these cool random things. And it just backfired, which is fine. It happens. But this year, this next season, 2024's growing season, I want to do things differently. I want to really prioritize putting up food and growing food to feed my family, because I think that is what's most important here. And if I'm going to bring you gardening content, I want it to really help you and enrich you and provide support in you feeding your family, because that's really what this channel is about. And yeah, I want to provide like entertaining content, and yeah, growing the weird melons and the weird random plants it's like fun, right? But it doesn't actually serve you in any way. And so this year I want to serve you well. I want to serve me and my family well. And so I'm really focusing on food production. With that being said, I got the first Baker Creek catalog in the mail, and I opened it up, and because it goes in alphabetical order, the very first page was, I think it was Agastache. And I'm not saying that this crop is not useful or helpful, because it is, but it's just a perfect example of something that I would probably purchase to try because it's for tea. I love tea. And that runs the risk of me mislabeling it. Are the seeds even going to germinate? Where am I going to put it? It's just, I don't want to add too many new things to the garden when I should be focusing on things that I already know how to grow. And so I opened it up to that first page and I just felt this overwhelming sense of don't even bother. And I closed it and I set it down and I haven't opened it since just now. And so what I ended up doing, I got all of my seeds, all the seeds that I own. Oh, they're all right here. All the seeds that I own, I got them all out. This is how I store my seeds right now. I will eventually invest in a better way. This is how I store my seeds. I got them all out and I went through all of them. And I said, what do I already own that I can plant? Because you guys know my budget is tight. I don't have any extra money in the budget to just go buying seeds for funsies. And guess what? I have everything that I need. And then what I did, because I didn't really do it this past season, I kind of did, but I didn't follow it as closely as I did that first year of gardening. I made a grow list. And my original grow list is still in here. This is 2022's grow list. And I did such a good job that first year. This is 2022's grow schedule. And I did a great job keeping garden notes and really outlining when and how I should plant these things. And it went over so well. And I think part of the reason that it didn't this year was because I didn't really do that. I didn't really stick to it. And so I did a 2024 grow list and a 2024, I didn't label it, but a 2024 grow schedule. And we're going to go over that right now. That's really the purpose of this video. So for 2024, first of all, my estimated last frost date for my area is April 30th. I always round up to that next weekend, just to give myself a little extra time. April 30th is a Tuesday, so I am estimating my last frost date to be Saturday, May 4th. And so I do all of my planning around that date, but we'll get to that in a second. So I'm only growing a few flowers because I do love flowers, but they serve me from a mental health standpoint. They don't serve me in feeding my family. So I kept it short. I'm doing the Flamingo and Rainbow Celosia again. I grew that the first year, loved it. Peruviana zinnias, Queen Lime zinnias. I have both Apricotta and Candy Floss Red Cosmos that I already own. Calendula, I have red and Champagne Hollyhock that I already own. Strawflower, Cut and Come Again zinnias, Blushing Susie Black-Eyed Susans, and Alyssum. I own all of these already, and I have at least a little bit of experience with all of them. The hollyhocks, I've never been able to be successful. They are the bane of my existence, but we're going to give it a shot again. The rest of these I've mostly grown and have had at least some success with. Herbs, I'm growing from seed, oregano, chamomile, summer savory, basil, and then I'm going to try the butterfly peas again. I didn't get them to germinate last year. We'll try again. I already own all of these. I'm also going to do dill and parsley and cilantro, but I always do mints, but I get those already started from the farmer's market, and then I'll just transplant them out into the herb bed. For vegetables, we're doing cabbage, cucumber, Kalima green beans, jade bush green beans, soybeans, kale, onions, lettuce, zucchini, ground cherries, pineapple tomatillos, Brussels sprouts, sugar snap peas, and peppers. All of the peppers are just going to be jalapenos and bell peppers. Those are the only peppers I'm doing. And then for tomatoes, I'm doing a bunch, and I have Sun Sugar, Chef's Choice, Mortgage Lifter, Roadster. All of those that I just listed for you were seeds sent to me by a viewer, Gary. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to try those out this year, this next season. Super Sauce, Subarctic Plenty, Martina's Roma, Terracotta, and Black Cherry. So we're going to give all of those a shot. We're going to start all of those from seed. So that's it. I also had carrots on here, And I made this list a few days ago, and I've been kind of like sitting on it and thinking about it. I've decided I'm not going to grow carrots because I'm really heavily utilizing my space this year. And although I do love homegrown carrots a lot, I have great farmers in my area that I can purchase them from at a super affordable price. So I think I'm going to skip growing the carrots. And then I'm also not growing garlic because I would have had to have planted it in the fall. And I never ended up having enough extra money to purchase what I would have needed to do that. So no garlic, but we'll get it next time. It'll be okay. So that's it. That's my list. And then I want to go through and give you the schedule for that. I have 3 seed starting dates. Now, when you're trying to be successful with gardening, this is very important because you don't want to start something too early. You don't want to start something too late. You have to be mindful of how many mature plants you'll have at any one time from a space standpoint. And so I thought a lot about this when I went through and put this together. So the first date is March 2nd. And on March 2nd, 2024, I'm going to start my hollyhock, my cabbage, onions, and tomatoes. I don't know, what date did I start the tomatoes last year? You know what? I just had the thought. Let me go back and see when I started all of these things in 2022, which was my most successful growing season. And I started my tomatoes March 12th. So March 2nd versus March 12th. I'm going to stick with what I've got. I think that that'll work out fine. The next date is March 16th. And on March 16th, I'm doing zinnias, cosmos, calendula, strawflower, oregano, chamomile, the summer savory, kale, peppers, ground cherry, tomatillo, and Brussels sprouts. And then a note that the kale I'm actually going to plant outside. Like I'm going to start it indoors March 16th and then transplant it outside April 20th. It's cold hardy and it recommends actually planting it out before the last frost date. So that's what I'm doing with that. And then April 6th is my last seed starting day, and I'm doing the celosia, the lettuce, the cucumber, and the zucchini. Cucumber and zucchini, you don't want to start too soon because they really take off quickly and will take up a lot of space and will need heavy amending inside, and I don't ever want to fool with that. So with my potential planting out date being May 4th, that is a little less than a month that I'll have those inside, just for 4-ish, 3.5-ish weeks. And then the rest are going to be direct sown. The Blushing Susie, Black-Eyed Susan vine, I'm going to direct sow. The green beans, soybeans, sugar snap peas are all going to be direct sown outside. And we'll see. I'll have to play it by ear with the weather and see exactly when. So that's my grow plan for this year. When I was filming the other day outside, I did have one change that I'm making to the layout of the garden. So I'll go ahead and show that to you now. So historically, these were the beds that I had my tomatoes in. The last 2 growing seasons, this is where I grew them, and I've got my cattle panels here that I used for trellising. I'm actually going to finally do some rotating. It's best practice to keep your crops rotating in your garden when you have raised garden beds like this. And so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to try, this is all hinging on me being able to move this. If I can remove this and move it, I actually want to just move it to these back beds. I've had peppers and zucchini and cucumber in these back beds over here, and I want to move the tomatoes there, and then I'm also going to plant tomatoes along these 2 beds over here. I'm probably just going to do a swap, so tomatoes moving there, peppers, cucumbers, and zucchini moving here, but we'll see what I decide to do next year. Yeah, so as you can see, I'm moving things around a little bit. We're going to do some crop rotating, which this will be my first year doing that in this garden. The last 2 years, I've kept everything pretty much in the same spot. This year, we're going to do a little bit of rotating. And then when it comes to transplanting out your indoor seed starts, there are 2 things that you have to keep in mind. First, your estimated last frost date is just that, it's an estimation. It's no guarantee that that's actually going to be the last time it frosts. So definitely keep an eye on your weather, the 10-day forecast. When we get close to May 4th, I'm going to see, like, do we have any projected frosts 10 days out from that date? Or are we looking really warm? Has it been warm? Is it projected to stay warm? If so, then I'll plant out. 2022, part of the reason it was successful was because we had a really early summer and it got really warm in April and stayed warm. We never had any more frosts. And I think I planted everything out April 30th that year, that weekend around that time, maybe even a little sooner. Last year, that wasn't the case. And so just keep an eye on your weather around the projected last frost day, or even push it out a week or two to be safe. Next, when you start seeds indoors, which I'll make a video about that when we get closer, you want to harden off your seedlings, which means taking them outside for an hour. You know, that first time you do it, just have it be for an hour, and then you can slowly increase the time as time goes on that you're leaving them out when you have those nice days. So in April, it's likely that we'll have a couple of really nice days that are in the 50s, maybe even the 60s. The sun will be out, there'll be a breeze, and it's so essential for those seedlings to get out into that weather, that environment, because it'll really help strengthen those plants and prepare them to be transplanted into their final home. If you take them from the inside and put them right in the outside, they're going to experience shock and they may not make it. So that is called hardening off. And that first year, I really think it was beginner's luck. It was beautiful. It was so great. I had an awesome stretch of time there in April where it was nice enough that I could take them outside almost every day. And I remember that I had so many of them. I had them spread out all over the patio, getting sun, and it was wonderful, and they were very well acclimated. Those tomato plants, I had them in red solo cups. They were like this tall by the time I was able to put them in the garden, and they had been hardened off, and they just exploded as soon as I put them in their home, and it was just so lovely and wonderful. One more thing that I want to mention, and then we'll wrap this up. This past season, 2023 season, part of the reason that I struggled was because I purchased a bad bag of soil. It was contaminated with something and it killed a lot of my seedlings, my seed starts. It was very sad. So pretty much all the tomatoes I grew this year, almost, I'd say 75% of them, I purchased as starts from a nursery, a farmer's market, what have you, because I lost most of mine. I'm not doing that again. That was really upsetting. That was a lot of hard work wasted, and I think that was part of the reason I didn't put as much effort into this garden, because I started out already discouraged. And so I'm going to be doing the soil test, which is going to be me starting like a bean or something that sprouts quickly, perhaps a cucumber or something in the soil, and watching it sprout and then watching to see if it stays healthy after it's started. If you have soil that is contaminated with something, oftentimes it'll sprout and then it'll die, or it'll be yellow, or the leaves will curl. It will show some sign of distress, and that will tell you that, hey, the soil that you are using to plant these in is no good, and you can throw it away. And so I'm definitely doing that this year. I'm also going to potentially source better soil, but we'll have to play that by ear. I'm not going to be starting seeds until March. That gives me a few months to see where my finances are. Hopefully we continue to grow together and I can continue to improve my financial situation. But if it's the same as it is right now, I'm not going to have a lot of money to invest in those kinds of things. And so we may end up just still purchasing like cheap soil from Home Depot or something. But regardless of where I get it, we're definitely going to test it before I plant any of my seeds in it. And we'll talk about all of that when the time comes. But I just wanted to come and let you know, hey, I'm thinking about this. The seed catalogs are going out, so I'm sure many of you are thinking about it as well. And there are ways to go about it where you can be organized and really set yourself up for success. I think I'm going to write a blog post on this, kind of outlining exactly how I do it, because it's easy and I'm not having to purchase any fancy software, any fancy planners. I'm not saying that those aren't useful, and heck, maybe perhaps I'll even design one someday, a garden planner. I think that sounds like something I'd love to do. But for now, all I have is this notebook that I got from Big Lots 3 years ago. And I keep my own notes and schedule, and so I think I'll write a blog post kind of outlining that in more detail. So check the description. Perhaps I'll have something like that down there. But if you have any questions or tips that you'd like to share, my community here on YouTube is growing, and I've had some really excellent wisdom and tips dropped in the comment section on my various cooking videos. So let's keep that going with my gardening videos, because this is a space where we could really encourage each other and help each other grow. You guys have helped me grow. So if you have any garden planning tips, I'd love to hear those down in the description. I can't wait to see you guys in my next video. Have faith and keep moving forward. Bye, my friends.